road improvement schemes across Fareham. And there's a very significant amount of money being spent at the moment, and I know some of you will be sitting in traffic jams as a result of the money that's being spent in Fareham, not least on Newgate Lane, but there are a number of improvements going on across the borough. The northern section of Newgate Lane, that will be finished next month. There's a southern section of Newgate Lane, which is going to be an entirely new road. That's been fully funded by government. The planning application for that will come in next month, which will effectively downgrade the southern section of Newgate Lane to more of a service road and a cycleway. St Mark, there's an exhibition going on literally as I speak. It was at Fareham College. It's been in Titchfield today. There are other dates set for St Margaret's roundabout at Titchfield. It's having several £1 million spent improving that. Peel Common roundabout and the A27 and dualling most of the A27 from Fareham town centre through to Sedgensworth. There's a scheme of £6.5 million at the station roundabout in Gudgeeth Lane, and of course that by itself manages to cause most of that tailback that some of you will be familiar with. It goes all the way back to junction 11 every night, and most of that is being held up around that Gudgeeth Lane area. So there's a big improvement there, and then, as I said, St Margaret's Lane and that whole area all the way up to the Sedgensworth roundabout and junction 9 will become dual carriageway right through. Stubbington Bypass, that's another big scheme. The planning application element has been funded and the application will be coming in next month. And then, of course, once we have, assuming we do have the planning consent for that, then we'll be going to government to look for funding for the Stubbington Bypass. So the programme of works that we're looking at for Fareham is around £90 million of road improvements. And the reason those improvements are being funded by government is because we have Daedalus and we're trying to create jobs there, and because we have Wellborn. If we didn't have either of those, these central government funded schemes would not be happening. And of course what we don't want is to be funding schemes from development. For instance, the Stubbington Bypass is sitting on an area of land, Newlands Farm. That's the strategic gap between Fareham and Stubbington. We don't want to have developer funding to build the bypass, because then of course that's just another pile of houses, and then you probably need another bypass again to get around it. And talking of these significant planning applications that are coming in, these are sites that were fought out. Newlands Farm between Fareham and Stubbington, also Cranley Road in Porchester. These were fought out at the local plan inquiry last year. The inspector didn't allocate them, but of course that doesn't stop developers putting in planning applications. So we've got a planning application in for Newlands Farm, 1,500 houses, and I understand they're looking to reduce the housing numbers now. It's still not been determined by the council, but it is still housing in a strategic gap. And Cranley Road at Porchester, again, a greenfield site. Every 10 years we get another planning application comes in for Cranley Road at Porchester. Every 10 years it gets rejected. Every 10 years they go to appeal. Every 10 years they lose the appeal, but it doesn't stop them. You can't stop developers applying for planning consent, and they are doing that. Another application I've mentioned in there, although it was possibly of more interest to residents in Porchester, is an application for a Lidl in the Castle Trading Estate, and that's another quite controversial planning application in Porchester. Many people have written in to support it, Porchester residents, and the council's currently carrying out a retail study to see what effect a Lidl outside the Porchester district centre, which incidentally the inspector in the local plan inquiry described, I think as teetering was the word he used, what effect it would have on the viability of the Porchester district centre. So that application will be determined later on this year.